Are you noticing a decline in your organic SEO traffic? This is because of generative engine optimization. In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about generative engine optimization. I'm going to be talking about it in three sections. I'm going to be talking about the new approach to keyword strategy, the importance of authority, and then I'm going to talk about the importance of brand and, in some instances, offline marketing. Google has been the de facto search engine for a very, very long time. And this has made Google so confident and so arrogant that they have not been as innovative as they should be. The problem with Google is people are required to click on multiple pages when they're searching for information. People will struggle to find answers to some queries. And then some instances, the quality of the traffic, the quality of the listing is so bad. And some people would argue that Google pays more attention to the quality of paid advertising and kind of ignores the quality of the organic traffic. So SEO over the years has been a situation where Google has struggled to give good content. And a lot of the updates that Google has done over the years is to improve the quality of that content. But in recent months and years, there's been the advent of generative engine optimization. Tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other AI tools have come into the market, and they've offered better quality of results in some instances and an easier, faster way to get information. Therefore, the informational research, most informational research for some websites like your Money or Your Life website where you have banking and health, some of those have been heavily impacted by the advent of this AI tool. So, as a business leader, you don't need to be technical to understand that people's behavior is slowly changing. While some people still use Google search, some power users and some of your target customers will predominantly be using generative AI tools like Perplexity, ChatGPT, and other tools to do their research. And you want to have an effective SEO strategy that presents your brand when people use those tools. So, for all the traffic that Google will lose moving forward, those AI tools will gain those traffic. And for your website to be relevant and for your SEO, which is now GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, to be relevant, you need to be surfaced on those tools. So I'm going to talk about this in three sections, as I mentioned earlier on. First, let's look at the new approach to keyword research. Your traditional SEO strategy, you need to have four keywords. What I mean by this is, as a business leader, you need to make sure your team has a keyword list for informational keyword, navigational keyword, transactional keyword, and commercial keyword. So your keyword strategy needs to be in that four buckets. When it comes to generative SEO, when it comes to generative engine optimization, which is the new and effective way to layer on top of your existing SEO. So, what I want you to understand here is your traditional SEO is still relevant. For you to win in the future, you need to still have a strong foundation, a strong on page SEO. But when it comes to generative engine optimization, you need to shift a little bit away from just focusing on keyword alone. Generative engine optimization platforms are conversational. They do not have ads, they do not have a lot of interference. So, the way people search on Perplexity, for example, is they type in multiple words. And even in traditional SEO, the longer the words, that's what is called long tail keyword. The more specific and the more tailored they are, and the less competitive it is. So your keyword strategy moving forward needs to be long tail, high intent keyword strategy. What this means is you need to look at your customer journey and know this: when someone is trying to buy something from traditional SEO, they're going to start with informational keyword. They're going to look at 10 listing. They're going to click on each page. They're going to research the information. Once they have that information, after reading many blog posts and articles, then there's a time delay. Maybe after a few days, if that purchase is not urgent, then they're going to go to the navigational phase, they'll go to the commercial phase, and then they're going to go to the transactional phase. That's a longer customer journey from a business perspective. So the traditional SEO is slower when it comes to getting people to convert. But when it comes to generative engine optimization, the users go into those perplexity if they have informational need. They search for the information, and the engine gives them that option to ask a follow-up question. So when it comes to generative engine optimization, your keyword approach needs to embrace the full spectrum of the customer journey. When people traditionally go into those tools like Perplexity to get those informational queries, they have the opportunity to ask a follow up question. So, your content strategy needs to be an end to end optimization. So, what this means is for every content on your website, you need to make sure that your content strategy links with the other. What I mean is your informational keywords need to link to the navigation, the commercial, and the transactional. In my experience, and I'm going to be a futurist here, I believe generative engine optimization will reduce the number of time it takes for people to convert. What I'm trying to say is that sales cycle will be shrunk for the companies that are quick to adapt and adopt generative engine optimization. So you need to have a rethink of your keyword strategy, your foundational keyword strategy. You need to make sure that whilst you're going to lose website traffic in your organic traffic, you will get some brand mentions in all those AI overviews. Google have the AI overview and Perplexity and the others. So the way these tools work is people go in and they search on those AI tools, and the tool will give them the answer in a summarized, straightforward answer to reduce the need for them to hop around the internet to get the answer. The AI tool will aggregate those information across multiple websites and it will give it to the customer. It will then give them the citation where they got the response from. The only thing you're going to get from there, if the person wants further information, your website link will be showing in the citation section, and your brand mention in some instances will be mentioned in the information that is presented. So this offers you the opportunity to have direct traffic. And if we then look at it from a conversion perspective, your homepage is the most likely destination that they're going to land on, because if they see your brand mentioned in those generative AI and those overviews, they're going to type in your brand and they're going to go into your homepage. So how is your homepage then optimized for those 4 journeys? These are the things that you need to think about as a business owner about your new improved SEO strategy. Let me rephrase: it's not SEO strategy, it's GEO strategy, Generative Engine Optimization. This provides the customer with a better experience. Although the market share for AI tools is not as high as Google, but as people start using this tool and as the experience is better, I predict that it will level the playing field where Google will just be an option for people. It will not be the only option. I'll give you a personal example. I do not use Google as much as I used to. I use heavily Perplexity, Notion AI, and ChatGPT. But one thing you also need to understand when you're looking to implement effective SEO strategy moving forward is the AI tools is divided into two buckets. You have those tools that are very, very effective with search. They are more tailored to search engine type task. And then you have the other tool that are more like an outsourced resource. For example, I use Notion to transcribe my podcast into a blog post. And I tell it specifically not to alter the content, but just to make it in a readable format. So basically, it's a tool that you can also use for your SEO strategy as well. And when it comes to keyword research, your traditional keyword research that charges you a very high fee, Generative Engine Optimization also gives you a platform as a business leader to get your keyword research done and tailored to how you want it to be. What I'm trying to say is you can just basically type in your company, describe what your company does, and then tell the Generative Engine Optimization tool to give you your keyword based on informational, transactional, navigational, and commercial, and group those keywords for you. And you can tell it to tell you what type of websites talk about those keywords. So the power of generative engine optimization is going to make your baseline SEO strategy much, much better. You also need to make sure that you're not just focused on targeting high volume keywords. Because with the high volume keywords, what people don't understand is you're going to get a lot of noise as well. The fact that those keywords are very, very high volume means they're going to be section of that keyword traffic they're not ready to buy. Some of them would not be aware of what your product does. So when they're not aware, they're not even in the research phase to start with. So those traffic will cause even more bounce rate and more exit, more pogo sticking for your website. So you want to make sure that your focus, your keyword strategy for an effective SEO strategy that integrates generative engine optimization, you want to make sure that you're targeting low competition keywords with a high focus on intent. That is your strategy moving forward. For the second section of this podcast, I'm going to be talking about generative engine optimization from the perspective of authority, the importance of authority. So, authority means different things to different people, and Google has struggled to really nail down authority. Google, for example, Google attributes authority to the strength of your backlink. That's the authority of your website is based on the volume of other website pointing links to you. But that doesn't really allow for innovative newcomers into the space that have more thought leadership when it comes from an innovative perspective to really, really compete. So Google has been blamed in the past for prioritizing all those big brands. But with generative engine optimization, the playing field is different because the same way you have Google having crawlers that crawl the internet to identify high quality pages that are relevant to keywords, the same way those generative engine optimization tools and platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity have their own crawlers that crawl the internet, and then their understanding of authority is a little bit different to Google. I'll give you a good example. If you publish high, fresh, quality content on platforms like LinkedIn, you're bound to be picked up by those generative engine optimization platform. But what I'm trying to say here is it's now the playing field is these tools need information that is unique. They need a new perspective. And this is a problem with the traditional SEO. The traditional SEO strategy is for you to look for a keyword, look at the website that are ranking for those keywords, copy them, and try and make the content better to rank. And if you see what I've just explained there, you look for a keyword, you try and outrank those websites at the top, you look at the links those websites have, and you try and get links from the same website. There is really no innovation there, and there's really no thought about what the customer wants from that perspective. The thought is more around what the competitors are doing, what the search engine wants. With this AI tools that is stealing traffic from Google, they have more appetite for fresh content, for a different perspective, for a unique perspective. And they're able to validate your authority based on similar things that Google uses, which is the mention of your brand. And let me reverse back a little bit to what I talked about earlier on when it comes to keyword research as well. That also aligns with the authority. The authority of your content will also be based on the readability of that content. So, if you have a content that is full of fluff and jargon, those AI overview will not be able to pick up that information because these tools and this platform have been trained to offer information to users in a very concise, in a very summarized and direct way. What I'm trying to say here is these tools do not need waffle. They need straight to the point, clear, scannable information. So moving forward, for you to have an effective SEO strategy, you need to do a content audit of all your existing websites. As a business leader, you want to ask the question of your SEO team, of your agency. What keywords are we targeting? What is our brand authority at the moment? How can we improve our brand authority? What content on our website needs refreshing and how can we refresh that? Are there any pages on our website that is competing with each other and how can we reduce those competition? So the backlink is also important as well, but you need to make sure that your backlink strategy, your digital PR strategy is highly focused on relevance and less on volume. SEO strategy by default is in different tiers. For organizations that are just about task completion, about volume and quantity of task, SEO tasks completed, that is not the new SEO strategy. The new SEO strategy is just focusing on the things that are most important. So your backlink strategy needs to be not on the number of links you get from high quality domains, but the quality of the domain. That is the most important thing you need to be paying attention to. So, what is brand in particular? Brand is basically the mention of your organization, of your product from an experience perspective. And do not make the mistake that this tool, this generative engine optimization, in my opinion, is more powerful than Google because this is an innovative and a better way to present information to people. And I would highlight that Google has been slow to do this. The question is, did Google have the skills to do it, or did they just got so comfortable with selling Google ads and paid advertising that they just failed to innovate based on what the customer wants? What they want is the shareholder value, and they get that straight away from the money that they get from paid advertising. At the time of recording, Generative Engine Optimization has not really integrated paid advertising. So, whilst the experience is excellent now, we do not know what the future holds from a paid perspective because these organizations are for profit, they're not a charity. So, from a brand perspective, the quality of your brand mention impacts your brand perception. So, what I'm trying to say is your fundamental backlink strategy is linked to your brand as well. So, you want to make sure that this generative engine optimization platform can understand what your brand is about. How are they going to understand what your brand is about? Is to make sure that you have those schemas, you have those technical codes on your website. As a business leader, you need to understand that search engines can crawl your website, but there's another way for you to give them more information, and that is what is known as schema markups. These are just codes that are embedded on pages of your website that would then give search engines and even all this AI tool, because even the AI tool have robots that crawl websites, gives them more information about your website, and that would help your website be picked up more by search engines and by generative engine optimization such as ChatGPT and Perplexity and other AI tools. So this is a very, very important way. So when you're talking about effective SEO strategy, you need to first have that foundation SEO, basic SEO. I call it basic because you first need to appear in the first page of Google. You first need to make sure that the information that you're presenting is unique, is fresh. And then on top of that, when you have your schema markups, you have your targeted long tail keywords, you have your good readability score, you have your digital PR, then all the traffic that you're losing potentially to the AI overview and to the people that are doing informational searches will then be attributed back to you from a brand mention perspective. And one thing I want to talk about brand is your brand name will appear when people are using those AI tools to do research. If your brand name is difficult to understand, if your brand name is not self explanatory, if your brand name doesn't have a strong brand equity, if your brand name doesn't have a good brand recall, then there's a likelihood that people would not be able to find you when they then go to directly search for you in search engines. Remember, what I'm trying to say here is people will see your brand and then they have to go straight into your website. This also poses another problem from a conversion perspective because when they do those research on all these AI platforms and your brand is mentioned, there's a high tendency that when those people do the search, they're going to search and land on your homepage. The question then is, how is your homepage optimized from a conversion perspective to make sure that whatever searches or whatever query or whatever problem people are using to find a solution in generative AI platforms like ChatGPT and Perplexity, when they get to your homepage, will they then be able to navigate easily into your homepage? And that's where the synergy between your homepage experience and other deep pages is important. So I have a template where you can implement effective foundational SEO strategy and as well as generative AI strategy. Both of them come together. I have a template that I can share with you, but you need to book a session with me and I will walk you through how you can implement an effective SEO strategy for your e-commerce, B2B, charity, whatever website you want to implement. My name is Femi Olajiga. I'm a digital marketing consultant. And in the next episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about digital marketing channels. These channels are changing. The digital marketing channel that existed 5 years ago is different to today's channels. So if you're new to this podcast, if you're watching in YouTube, like, share, subscribe. And if you're listening on other platforms, podcast platforms, give us a 5-star review and also like, follow, share. And in the next episode of the podcast, I will be looking forward to talking about lists of digital marketing channels. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
If you've got a real life question, challenge, or scenario that you would like covered, Femi can cover it in the future episodes of the podcast. Just drop him a message on LinkedIn. Femi is also available for one-to-one coaching and consultancy services as well. So head over to LinkedIn, connect with him, and send in your message.